Hello epic viewers from around the multiverse, prepare to indulge in experiencing sheer bliss, because today another riveting captivating stellar unboxing video is about to be brought to fruition. What item might be unboxing, what item might be opening? Without further delay, without further procrastination, allow me to list the box. What items encompassed inside this bulky, hefty, tangible, nifty box? Let's find out. I'm going to demystify the answer to that inquiry right here, right now, so bear with me. It'll only take me billions of podcast seconds to extract the item from the box and subsequently flaunt him from the camera for you to feast your glorious eyes on. Here we go, the unboxing process is about to commence. The unboxing process is officially underway. What item have I elicited? What item have I extracted? What item have I prompted? What item have I drawn forth? This figurine is done by the moniker of the Archfiend of Gilfer. Is he a paradigm of perfection? Is he the epitome of perfection? Is he the embodiment of resounding perfection? I believe he is. I'm an avid devout Yu-Gi-Oh fan, therefore I will proclaimly to buy Yu-Gi-Oh merchandise. I was inclined to buy the figurine after discovering that I could procure him for under $6 via eBay. He has spikes protruding out of his chest, he has spikes protruding out of his back, he has spikes protruding out of his shoulder pads. He's quite an epic figurine. This is the quintessential version of the Archfiend of Gilfer. There's only one Archfiend of Gilfer unless you were able to procure a custom Archfiend of Gilfer. What are the flaws, Upper? Oh my, I just decimated some of my enamel. Gotta be careful. Alright, what are the flaws appertaining to the Archfiend? Let me revamp that one more time. What are the flaws appertaining to the Archfiend of Gilfer? Well, his fingers are awkwardly posed. I mean, there's two giant apertures in his hands, and his fingers are pre-posed in an open pose. They're not semi-clenched together, and they're not fisted. So it's disappointing that he doesn't. It's disappointing that he lacks fisted hands. Is he devoid of accessories? Well, he comes with wings that you can equip at your own discretion. Let's see if I can equip them without ravaging this figurine. I gotta be diligent here. One of them just fell on the floor. Alright. I need to scour the bowels of my room for the wing. I had to. It took billions of picoseconds. I'm done with that. Alright. Just place the pegs inside the peg holes, and voila. It culminates in a complete Archfiend of Gilfer. Now, his wings can be detached at your discretion. You cannot articulate his fingers. He lacks finger joints. He lacks a diaphragm joint. He lacks an elbow joint. He lacks knee joints. He lacks ability to rotate his wrists. He also cannot rotate his calves, nor his thighs, nor his ankles, nor his forearms, nor his biceps. He can't even swivel his head. His tail cannot be articulated either. So, in reality, or in actuality, you have 4 points of articulation. And I know this figurine was produced in the 1990s, but it's just deplorable, I should say, that he lacks so many critical points of articulation. He can't even rotate his head. Now, what about his other facets? Why did I buy this figurine? Other than the fact that I'm an avid devout Yu-Gi-Oh fan? Well, he truly embodies the Archfiend of Gilfer, and he was the only action figure of the Archfiend of Gilfer. I don't own an action figure of Gilfer the Lightning. I'll likely pick it up soon, but he coincides eminently well with a 5 to 6 inch action figure collection, since he stands roughly 5 to 6 inches tall. When you compare and contrast him to Batman, you can unequivocally tell that he's not that much shorter. Alrighty. So, he's a stupendous figurine, height-wise. I love his details, I love his shadings, I love his textures, I love his hues. My only gripe appertaining to the figurine is that he lacks any more articulation than his 4 points of articulation. And of course, his shoulder pads encumber his arm articulation further. Now, if he had 2 fisted hands, then he would have been significantly better. He still has tremendous intrinsic value because his details are just top-notch. He's not marred with scratches, nor scuffs, nor dings, nor dents. Nothing really disconfigures his appearance. Nothing really distorts his appearance. I mean, he truly emulates the appearance of Archfiend of Gilfer. He lacks peg holes, so in a form of a quantitative score, I would rate the figurine to be a 6 out of 10. Actually 6.5 out of 10. The reason I deducted points is because the hands are awkwardly posed. I mean, who has their hands perpetually open like this? Plus there's a giant aperture in one of his hands, and it's not obscured, it's not obfuscated in any aspect, it's not covered up, you can just blatantly see it. It's relatively transparent, it's not inconspicuous, just stands out. It's a little bit more discreet with some black hands, but still, it's noticeable, especially if it's illuminated in light. The other hand too is open. There's no reason why they couldn't have been semi-clenched together or fisted. So the fingers should have not been open. And he should have had more points of articulation. They could have added joints in the elbows. They could have added joints in the knees. They could have allowed you to rotate his calves or his thighs or his forearms or his wrists or his biceps. I mean, there's just so many opportunities for articulation. They could have also added they could have also added in a diaphragm joint, so they could have performed it. It's arduous for me to speak cohesively because I feel dehydrated and weary. Yeah, regardless of that, let's get back to the video. I apologize for digressing. They should have been able to add in a diaphragm joint so that he could have performed an ab crunch. They should have been able to add in a disc joint so that he could have rotated his head. He doesn't have that much latitude for articulation. He has 4 points for articulation. They're relatively finite. Their movements are limited. Shoulder pads further impede his movements, and his legs nor his arms can move inwards or outwards. So the articulation aspect is a salient gripe. And the awkward preposed hands is a giant aperture in one is another salient gripe. So those are the critical shortcomings associated with this figurine. And if you twist around the wings, they'll fall off, so they lack articulation. And the peg is a bit noticeable, but perhaps it's better that you can take them off because you don't want them to get ravaged in the shipping process. It's more arduous to pack these figurines if you can't remove their wings, because the wings just take up so much space. The wings have tremendous width. So here he is once again. He has a lot of depth. He's not appalling, he's not egregious, he's not abysmal, but I'd probably rate him closer to a 7, so 6.5 to 7. And I guess that's my verdict, that's my final score. But for under $6, I mean, you truly can't go wrong. If the fingers were fisted, if he had more points of articulation, for under $6, I would unequivocally rate him a 10 out of 10, but that's not the case. Or maybe he has more merit than figurine that's relegated to a score of 6.5. I'm actually going to revamp my score to 7.5. Consider I'm going to revamp my score to 6.5 considering the price I paid. I mean, he has a tail. He's not shoddy. He's just not as defined as he could be, or not as intricate and developed as he could be. So, I hope that you found this video to be insightful and enthralling. Have a wonderful, marvelous day. Goodbye.